inability to meet the conditions, including 1 billion bail bond with 5 sureties, of whom 3 are to be justified. Prior to the release, his lawyers claimed the bail conditions were unfair and pleaded with the court for a review. His lawyer, Kwame Akufu, prayed the court to reduce the bail bond to 5 million Ghana cedis. The prosecution did not oppose the plea for the variation of the bail, but disagreed with the defense, given its own figure. The court, however, in its ruling, maintained the bail at a cost of 1 billion cedis, but varied the surety conditions. Judge Harriet Na Akwele Kwe ruled that NAM1 should provide 5 sureties, but none of them needs to be justified. The case has been adjourned to September 3, 2019. He was charged with the abatement of crime, defrauding by false pretenses, carrying on a deposit-taking business without license, sale of minerals without license, unlawful deposit taking, and money laundering. This is the feed on Kwese TV with me, Muftawu, Nabila. I'll be doing the discussion here in the studio with Benjamin Insia, who is a CPP communication member, and on the phone we'll be joined by Alfred Papa Dakwa, who is a legal practitioner. We'll also try and get some of the aggrieved customers of Men's Gold business, their lawyer, Amanda Clinton, to speak to us. But let me come to the studio now and speak to Benjamin, who has been following this story closely. Ben, first of all, what should be going through the minds of customers of this Men's Gold business following the announcement that he's finally off the bond of police custody?
Good evening, Muftawu, and good evening to the good people of Ghana who are watching Kwese as of now that we are speaking. I think customers should be excited that NAM1 has been released from police custody because now you have that freedom to operate and to get their monies paid back to them. But even though I think that they should be excited, but expectations should be limited. Like they should have that anxiety that monies will come soon, should be prolonged for them for a while, because I think being released today doesn't mean within the next week or 2 he's going to get the money paid to them. It will take a longer time for the money to be paid to them. So I think that, as said earlier, they should be excited that the monies, the man has been released, but they should not be anxious that the money will be, like, they will receive their monies paid to this man as soon as possible. It will take a longer time.
Let me go on the phone now to speak to Alfred Papa Dakwa. He is a legal practitioner. Good evening, Alfred. Thanks for joining us here on the feed.
Hello, good evening, and good evening to you.
We appreciate your time. If you were the legal advisors of some of the customers of Men's Gold business following the release of NAM1, who is the CEO of this business, what advice would you be offering your clients?
Well, to be honest with you, whatever is going on in court in terms of the criminal trial is without prejudice to their contractual arrangement with NAM1. What is happening now is the state trying to look at some criminal or alleged criminal issues relating to his operations with the customers. Now, if I was a lawyer for any of the customers of Men's Gold,
yes,
the issue is that at least the man is around. So at the end of the day, even when you have your judgment and you cannot execute it, it becomes an empty judgment. So once he's around, you try and take steps to see what you can get out of him in terms of the civil trial. I think that if probably what they need to do is to find a way out, meet him and see if these monies could be paid. But alternatively, you should just also file a civil suit against him and the company as well, in order to see if they can get something out of it.
But the court still requested that he makes available the 1 billion Ghana cedis. What probably could influence this decision by the court?
No, let's be careful here. The court did not say that he should make available 1 billion Ghana cedis.
Okay.
You know, the initial application for bail, which occurred, I think, a week ago.
Yes.
The court granted him bail with 5 sureties. 3 of the sureties were to be justified.
Yes, please.
What that means is that they were required to collectively show evidence of owning properties worth 1 billion cedis. That's what it means.
Okay.
Now, after looking around, they realized that they could not get any surety who could show evidence of such amount. So the lawyers came back to court and asked for a review of the bail conditions.
Okay.
And the court agreed and varied the conditions. But this time around, the court said that there should be no justification. What it means is that the sureties were not required to show evidence of owning the properties worth 1 billion. I hope you get the point. So
yeah,
they are not depositing 1 billion, and that 1 billion is a surety, so that in the unlikely or likely event, whatever it is that he absconds, these sureties will be held liable to pay that money to courts, and that one is for the benefit of the state.
Okay, I get that point over there, but if you read the ruling that was given earlier, the judge had said that the lawyers for NAM1 cannot indicate the figure they were going to make available. They requested that the 1 billion is brought down to 500 million, but they said that they cannot give a figure. Isn't this an indication that they actually needed NAM1 assets that are worth 1 billion Ghana?
No. What maybe it's the report. The reportage is what has brought about this misinformation.
Okay.
NAM1 is not required to bring any money to court as part of the bail conditions.
Okay.
The bail condition is that the surety, that is the people who are standing in his stead, or let's say for whatever better way, let me say guarantors, which I mean loosely say that. So these people are to justify, that was the initial order, justify, show that you own properties worth 1 billion so that we can let him go. But now they are saying that they couldn't get anyone who could show that he is worth 1 billion. So now the court has waived the justification. What the lawyers wanted to do was that, okay, reduce the justification for us. So instead of 1 billion, make it 5 million Ghana cedis justified. And that is when the prosecutors also said that, look, you cannot determine or tell the court how much
you want to pay.
You understand?
Okay.
So this money is
okay. Thanks very much. Okay. Apologies, we seem to have a problem with the network over there. Thanks very much, Mr. Alfred Papa. But let me come back to the studio. Yeah. Alfred, you heard him rightly mention that it was not a requirement for him to make available like 1 billion Ghana cedis. But do you think that at this point, where NAM1's assets have actually been seized by the state, this figure being asked of him is something he can raise?
I think he's a lawyer and he educated as well on this matter.
Yeah.
When you are given a bail term,
yeah,
you the one being prosecuted,
yes,
you are not supposed to pay that term.
Yes.
Rather, the sureties,
yes,
they must justify otherwise that they can pay when you are not there,
when
or
you're not available.
we are available. So I think he educated as well. Now, one doesn't have to give us the 1 billion that the court requested, but they must be that surety that those who stood
He's got assets that are worth,
or those who stood in
for him
in his stead have assets that are worth 1 billion in case NAM1 is not around or NAM1 finds himself somewhere, not in the country. But I think this whole issue, we should look at it carefully. as a state, I don't think that we should go this criminal way. The man operated his business by taking people's money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Why not us concentrating? Why shouldn't the state concentrate in getting the money back to the people he took the money from, rather than chasing this man? Let's evaluate his assets. The assets this man have, right, or this man has. Yeah. Can these assets pay the customers this man owes? Yes. Right? If these assets can pay the customers this man owes, then there's no need. We take him on and delaying the process. So let's look at, I think the state did some, like in the case of DKM, right? Yes. We had a liquidator which looked at the assets, evaluated the assets, and then started paying off. Yeah. If in the case of NAM1, we can do same. Let's do same and then get people, because the more you delay on this issue in court, in these criminal proceedings, people are losing lives, anxiety is setting in, people are getting sick or people are getting ill because of some of these things. I'm even told people have committed suicide. Yes, because of not being not being able to pay them. Yeah. So why not forgo the criminal aspect and then look at his assets and then ask him whether, as he has returned, he has the money.
You know what? You need to hold on the criminal aspect, because when you go against the laws must work. Let's go for a break. When we come back, this is the feed on Kwese TV with me, Muftawu, Nabila, Abdullah. We've been doing the discussion relating to police finally granting NAM1 bail after the Accra High Court earlier today said that he has met all the sureties that were requested of him, and that he should no longer be in police custody. In the studio with me doing the discussion is Benjamin. Just before we went for a break, you were talking about how the state should be interested in whether NAM1 can pay the monies instead of chasing the criminal aspect of it. Why would we forgo our law simply because someone has got money to pay?
See, every law is made for man, right? And in most cases, conventions must work. And conventions are backed by common sense. The common sense in this matter is that people are dying because they sent or they deposited their money into this man's business or company. Yes. Now, this man, we heard, was arrested in Dubai. Yes. We also heard was on Interpol.
There was Interpol alert for him.
But this man, even though we heard was on Interpol, came to Ghana without any police escort or no security person. He came freely into this country. Now, the man is in. The most important thing as a country and as a people is that we need to ask this man whether he can pay our money to us. He can pay this money to these customers. Now, if the man says, yes, I can pay, I have the assets or to pay these people, the state should concentrate much on getting the money from this man to the people. Yes. Now, prosecuting this man which you say is law,
Yeah.
agreeing with you that it's law. Now, this man can also say that because state is prosecuting me,
I'm using
the resources, you see, to face the state in court.
Yes.
Or maybe I may not even have that time to do other businesses to get your money back to you.
Yes.
Right? So why should we create this procrastination of time, wasting time, so that people will be blaming the state. Oh, state, release him. Now, he has been released, but still he's in court. So he says, oh, I'm still in court. So my idea, my suggestion, and which is a good one, and I know many Ghanaians will go with, is that the state should leave this man, at least for a month, and tell him that we've given you 1 month. Pay your clients, right?
Yes.
Pay your clients. If this man, we find that this man is able to pay the clients, right? Then we say, oh, after paying the clients, maybe the legal matters will come in. Now, if this man is not able to pay, then that is where the state will force him. And even not the state, those he owes.
Yes.
Right?
They're supposed to take him on.
Those he owe. Yeah. Those he owe will force him through civil means in court to get him paid.
But one would say that the law is the law. And even sometimes they'll tell you ignorance of the law shouldn't be an excuse. And some of these things, if you want to apply, like you said, common sense in this decision making, aren't you creating a ground where some people can also just walk over the law simply because they feel that I've got what it takes to meet the demands of my people?
Thank you.
And let's not also forget, when the state said that he has defrauded about 16,000 people worth 1.68 billion Ghana cedis, he argued that it is not up to that amount. It's actually 200 million Ghana cedis.
Yeah. So, Muftawu, has he defrauded people? Now, I see many people on the street. Whenever I hear the case of NAM1, I see many people on the street supporting NAM1. Release NAM1 for us. So those people the state is saying they have been defrauded are not saying they are defrauded. So I think the state is misinforming us because the clients of NAM1 or Men's Gold are saying that he has not defrauded us. Our money is with him. We want our monies back. Right? So the state can go away with this use of defrauding because the people, the clients are not claiming they have been defrauded. Now let's go to the issue of law. If we talk of law, there are many instances in Ghana, right, that people were supposed to have been prosecuted, but they are not. When the bank sector, the financial crisis in Ghana, yes, we had many names that were supposed to have been prosecuted.
But they are still investigating.
Oh, my brother, we know what happens in Ghana. Nothing will happen to them.
No, but this thing of just what happens in Ghana, if they are still investigating, you cannot say that it is over. So because that issue, because you say that issue is over, it means that this one too should be over.
Okay, so this one, I asked earlier, what is the priority of government in NAM1's case?
And government actually said that he was found culpable of 13 different cases.
Yes, which are legal breaches forming business entities without legal basis, exactly, or doing business without legal basis. So my question still stands that what is the utmost priority, what is the priority of government in NAM1's case? Is the government's priority to jail him or to get the money to the people? If the government's priority is to get the money to the people, release him and let him get the money to the people.
But don't also forget that these were the same customers who were also always asking government to step in and bring back NAM1 to pay them their monies.
And these days, I don't hear that anymore.
You don't hear that anymore. Doesn't mean that the state cannot step in and ensure that they provide security for the citizens.
You see, the state providing security for the citizens is making the citizen well-informed to have the assets they need from, the money they need from this man.
Yes.
So I am not against the criminal prosecution that the state has taken against.
Yes.
Right, but I think that the most important thing now is getting the money to the people. And getting the money to the people is to release this man and let this man get the money. Give him at least a maximum of 3 months to pay all his customers.
Yes.
If you cannot pay, if you think this man may not have the resources to pay his customers, you find a liquidator. Like the way you did in DKM case.
Yes.
So that the liquidator would sell all his assets. Right? I even heard earlier that some of his assets were being auctioned or something. If that is the case, now the state should come out and tell us the assets they've auctioned, how much they got from the auction or the sales of these assets, yes, and how much they are willing to top up, because we know in many cases the state is always top up.
The state actually said they were going to auction his assets if he doesn't return. Yeah. That was why the Interpol alert was being put. But since he's back, I'm not sure the state will continue to auction his assets.
okay, if the state is not ready or will not auction his assets, the state should release him, right? You see, I believe in modern days of not always going by the law, because sometimes excuse my language, let common sense prevail, right? Let conventions work, because there are other instances that for the DKM case, God is Love case, and most of the cases that happen in Bunahafu, right? In this financial deposit or whatever, businesses or whatever. Yeah. Now, in most of these cases, the perpetrators of these institutions were not prosecuted, were not jailed. I know many of them who are walking free, right?
No, but the lawyers or the law court will tell you that two cases are in the same cases.
Yes.
They are different cases.
But,
so you cannot treat them as same.
Yes, but in these two cases look similar. And
they are similar, but they're not same.
In their similarity, the most important person is the customer who deposited his fund into this particular company.
So would you advise that the clients of Menzgo should put together a petition to government saying that we want you to discontinue the court processes against NAM1 and that allow him to come back and pay us? What if that happens and NAM1 fails to do it? Can they go back to the same state and say, bring back NAM1 to book, to pay us our monies?
I think the lawyer we called educated as well on this matter. He said individuals can send NAM1 to court on civil matter. Yes. That this man took my money and said he was going to give me a return in 3 months or 1 month. The return never came. Court, I pray you, as the lawyers will always say, that I want my money back from this man. If this man doesn't get the money back, then the court will pronounce judgment on it. And if conviction, they will convict him. So I think that is the way to go. The state shouldn't even be involved in this matter. The clients themselves can...
No, you see where I get lost in this thing of saying that the state shouldn't get involved. We're the very people who were asking the state to bring this man back. We're not the very people. So why would the state now step back and allow customers versus NAM1? So it becomes a case of customers versus NAM1.
We requested for this man to be brought back when this man was not in the country. Right?
Yes.
And it is only the state, right,
yes,
that can liaise on our behalf to talk to where he was, the country in which he was residing,
yes,
to bring him into this country. Now, individual customers couldn't have done that. Now, the state, earlier, I heard the news, which I still doubt, that this man was on Interpol watch list.
Oh, yes.
Right? And we know how Interpol works. The Interpol headquarters in West Africa is in Abidjan, right? So I was even thinking that the Emiratis, or where he was, will release him to France, and France releases him to Abidjan and then Cote d'Ivoire, and then Cote d'Ivoire brings him to Ghana.
He passes
but
through
this man came without any escort, no security escort. So even the state telling us that this man was on Interpol watch list is even questionable. However, the man is in.
Was it state that said it or certain individuals?
I think the state made it clear that they have put this man on Interpol list.
Let's not forget, there was an earlier release from a court claiming it was coming from Supreme Court that there should be a bench warrant for the arrest of NAM1. And later, we realized that it wasn't even coming from the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court does not give warrants for these things. It was rather the High Court that did it. So it was rather individuals, someone like Gabo Ochiridako, because he led that thing on social media by saying that he's on Interpol alert to be brought back to the country. So these things of individuals saying it, we should not put it on the entire state.
Oh, Muftawu, I think you didn't hear that from I think I heard that from the
Minister of... Did the CID release a statement
Minister of Information? I heard that from the Minister of Information who represent the government.
And the CID did not release a statement on that?
You see, on these matters, normally, it takes the national security to look at these matters. It goes beyond the CID, right? So if the Minister of Information comes out to tell us that NAM1 is placed on Interpol watch list, I agree with him, and I do believe in him. But when he was coming, he came alone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. It's a pleasure having you here on the feed. Just before I go, there's some comments coming in from our viewers, and this one from TJ. He says, in Ghana, we are practicing selective justice. How on earth will one be given a bill almost 1 billion Ghana cedi? That amount of money can be used to even pay half of Menzgo clients crying for their money. Sorry, we cannot take more comments, and we'll wrap up here. time will always permit us to wrap up here on the feed with me, Muftawu, Nabila, Abdullahi.